This video is sponsored by DistroKid. If you're struggling to get your vocals to sit in a dense mix, this is the perfect video for you. In my experience as a professional mixing engineer that's worked with hundreds if not thousands of artists on their mixes, I tend to find that there's three main reasons why vocals won't sit perfectly in a mix. We're going to overview each of them in this video, and more importantly, I'm going to give you a variety of strategies that you can use to ultimately get your vocals to sit better in a mix. Now, I'm going to forego some of the reasons why vocals won't sit that have more to do with production than mixing. I'm talking about things like recording and arrangement. Of course, it's important to get these things right, but I'm going to assume that you know that. So instead, I'm going to focus on the elements that we can control as a mixing engineer while dealing with the song as is. Now, before we talk about the first reason, let's quickly talk about the sponsor of today's video, DistroKid. DistroKid has added yet another awesome feature for the DIY artist that uses platform, and that would be Mixia. Mixia is the easiest way to master unlimited tracks instantly. Great for putting the final touches on your music before release, especially if mastering isn't your strong suit. Let's face facts. Nothing will ever replace the artistry and expertise of a real human engineer like myself. But for artists who are short on time or resources, Mixia is a powerful tool that can help make your music sound great in a hurry. There are three simple steps to using Mixia. 1. Upload your mixed audio file to be mastered and optimized for streaming services. 2. Listen to the master and customize settings such as EQ and volume. And 3. Download your finished track and share it as you please, or even distribute it directly onto platforms through DistroKid. Your first master track is absolutely free, so I recommend you check it out and try it for yourself. And if you like it, it's only $99 per year to master unlimited tracks. You can sign up for DistroKid's awesome distribution services and save 7% off your first year using my link down in the description below. The first reason why vocals don't sit properly in a mix revolves around levels. A common question many people wonder about is how loud should my vocal be exactly? The reality is you just want your vocal to be at a place that sounds good, that isn't clipping, and that also isn't too quiet or buried by the rest of the elements in your track. Looking at my own recent mixes that have done well, here are the vocal levels of those tracks. These are just a few examples, but you can see that my vocal level tends to vary depending on the style and genre of the track, and also just the track itself, as should yours. It's never going to be just one simple setting. It's always going to vary depending on what you're working on. And the actual level of the vocal is just one aspect. But to set our vocals in an optimal way, we should be considerate of two additional criteria. The first is the sequence or order of how we set levels in our mix, and of course how the vocals specifically fit into that sequence. I've discussed my level setting processes in past videos, which I'll link to up above and down in the description below. But for a quick refresher, I typically set all of my tracks to infinite to start. So that means they're not audible, you can't hear them at all. And then I slowly bring everything in. And the way that I do that is first I bring in the most dynamic elements, which are usually my drums, starting with my kick and my snare. Then I bring in my bass sounds, followed by my all instrument sounds, so the pads, the guitars, the leads, whatever instrument sounds are on that track. And then finally I set my vocal levels after doing all of that. And while this sequence works for me, especially as I've honed my ear over the years, I realize it may not necessarily suit everyone. So instead, here's an alternative approach that'll work for you, especially if you're struggling with getting your vocal levels right in the first place. Follow the same sequence that I outlined earlier, starting with the most dynamic elements being the drums, followed by the bass. But instead of setting your other instrument sounds first, so like your guitars, your pads, your leads, instead of bringing those in next, bring in your vocals and then conclude with your remaining instrument sounds. This shift in sequence should really help you prioritize the level of your vocals and ensure that it cuts out on top of those competing sounds, especially in a dense mix. This will ultimately help you achieve an optimal balance while reducing that competition between sounds in your track. Now, the other criteria is how we actually monitor or listen to our track while we're setting levels. A common issue I've seen and experienced is many people will monitor their tracks way too loudly when mixing. Or they'll start at a lower level and as time goes on, slowly increase the monitoring level as their ears get more adapted and adjusted to the track and ultimately get fatigued in the process. The challenge with monitoring loudly is that it can create an inaccurate perception of the song that you're mixing. At high volumes, the human ear's frequency response changes, leading to a skewed perception of the mix. That means certain frequencies will seem more present than they actually are, which leads to imbalanced mixes. Not to mention that by monitoring loudly, your ears will be fatigued much quicker. You're not going to be able to mix as long, and your decisions are ultimately going to degrade as time goes on. I think you see where I'm going with this. But when setting levels, vocal levels especially, it's probably a good idea to monitor at a much lower volume. How low exactly? Quieter than a typical conversation seems to be the recommendation from a lot of industry engineers like Tony Hoffer, for example, and I also agree with that myself. When monitoring at a lower level, there's significantly less energy in the mix, and that allows you to focus and hear the finer details that you may not necessarily pick up on when listening at a loud volume. Typically, when I'm listening listening at a lower level, I'm able to pick up on the most dominant elements of the track. And that's going to be stuff like the drums, like the kick and snare, the bass, maybe some of the leads, and of course the vocal. I can typically find a better balance between the different elements of my mix that enables them to translate better across mediums, especially when I turn up the volume later. Whereas if I'm starting at a louder volume and setting my levels, I find that those levels don't always translate as well. Now, to take it a step further, I find taking breaks and listening in different environments is a cheat code as well. During this time, I'll listen to the mix on different playback systems, whether it's my studio monitors, different headphones, including earbuds and over-ear headphones, in the car, on my TV, and off my small laptop speakers. Most of the time, after referencing across these different vantage points, the level I initially set my vocal at is not the level that it stays at. And this is actually a key reason why I split my mixing sessions up over 2 or 3 different sessions on different days. It helps me avoid ear fatigue and also make the best and most calculated mixing decisions by coming in on a new day with a fresh perspective. Now, since we're talking about managing volume and levels, let's talk about one more thing that makes a huge difference in mixing that a lot of people sleep on, and that is automation. Now, after setting your static levels on a mix, there's a good chance that these levels won't work for the entire arrangement, especially as the arrangement evolves and introduces new sounds while dropping others out. For that reason, we could turn to volume automation and clip gain to manually adjust the levels of our vocals during certain sections of the song. That means we can adjust it to make the vocal more pronounced during louder sections when there's more competition, but also bring it down during sections where it's too overpowering. And thankfully, there are some additional tools out there that can make automation so easy that you may not even necessarily need to do it at all. I'm talking about tools that can ride the faders and adjust levels on the fly for you. All you need to do is dial in a few settings and let it do the work. Now, to be clear, this is not sponsored, but there are 2 tools that I think are worth checking out for this, one being Wave's Vocal Rider and another one being Melda Productions M Auto Volume. So in the case of this example, let's focus on these 3 horn sounds and my main vocal output here, which is basically where all of my vocals are going. I'm going to play this for a moment, and you're going to hear that the vocal is still clear, but at times it's getting buried as the horns and the vocal compete a lot in terms of frequency and just overall presence in the track.
Flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Oh, run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash, I'm killing inside chest. Not checkers in mind pass, no lining inside flash. The lighting is right, crashing, I'm flipping the right. Yeah, good book.
So I have 2 different options that I can do here, and I could use this M Auto Volume plugin the same way both times. One doing it in an additive way and another in a subtractive way. So on my main vocal master, for example, I have this set up in a way where it's going to automate the volume up during the sections that it's competing with the horns. So when the horns are playing, this M Auto Volume plugin is ultimately going to increase the level of my vocal here and make sure that it dominates and stands out on top. And the reason why it's actually automating this at all is because it's recognizing the sidechain here, which I've already set up on my horns directly. So my horns are sending a signal to this plugin and letting it know that when this happens, automate the volume on this vocal track up. Check this out. I'll play and show you the before and after.
Flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Oh, run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash, I'm killing inside chest. Not checkers in mind pass, no lining inside flash. The lighting is right, crashing, I'm flipping the right. At the flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Oh, run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash, I'm killing inside chest. Not checkers in mind pass, no lining inside flash. The lighting is right, crashing, I'm flipping the right. Yeah, good book.
Now, on the opposite end, you could also do the same, but directly on the horns, where if I open up these, for example, there's 3 horn instruments, as you can tell, or 3 tracks. I've done the opposite, where I have this sidechain actually ducking the volume on the horns. So if I actually get rid of my original M Auto Volume and just play these ones instead, check it out and take in the difference between them.
Flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Oh, run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash, I'm killing inside chest. Not checkers in mind pass, no lining inside flash. The lighting is right, crashing, I'm flipping the right. Yeah, good book. At the flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash. I'm killing inside chest, not checkers in mind pass. No lining inside flash, the lighting is bright. Crashing, I'm flipping the right. Yeah, good book.
And what I like about this tool is that these things are happening dynamically. It's not perpetually turning this up by 3 or down by 3 or whatever setting you end up using. It's actually looking at the sidechain and then deciding what to do. And this helps ensure that my vocals cut out on top and ultimately sit better within the mix without being drowned out. Now, setting vocals is obviously the foundational step of getting your vocals to sit right in a mix. But you could do this right and still have problems. And that leads me to the second reason why your vocals may not be sitting in a mix, which is a product of dynamics or lack thereof. Now, I'm really referring to dynamic range here, which refers to the range between the loudest and quietest parts of a signal, indicating the extent of variation in volume levels. The trouble is, if the dynamics of your vocal don't fully match the dynamics of the instrumentation it's being sung or rapped on, this disconnect can ultimately make it hard for the vocals to sit well at all. This can go two different ways. One, your vocal is too dynamic, meaning its presence is all over the place with moments that are very loud and present, but then others that are too quiet and buried. Or two, your vocal is too compressed, meaning it lacks dynamics or variations in volume and presence, and ultimately sounds consistent yet flat, so to speak. As you can imagine, these are two different problems that require two very different solutions. If your track is too dynamic, with tons of big and small peaks and variances, then your best bet is to compress and/or limit the vocal to create a more consistent sound by reducing the louder parts of the performance while increasing the quieter parts via makeup gain. I've got a few videos dedicated to compressing and limiting vocals specifically, which I'll link to up above and down in the description below. I definitely recommend you check those out if you want a play-by-play or step-by-step process on how to approach this yourself. Automation and vocal routing, which we just discussed, is obviously another potential solution, but it does require that manual finesse. Now, on the opposite end, if your vocal is over-compressed and not dynamic at all, then we actually need to do the opposite of compress and limit, and that would be to recreate dynamics. Now, if you already have a compressor on your track, you're probably going to want to reduce the effects of it, and that means reducing thresholds, reducing attacks and release settings, and ultimately getting it to not work as hard or potentially even removing it altogether. However, if your compression is committed to audio, which is a pretty common situation if you're recording at studios with outboard gear, running stuff into an outboard compressor, for example, then here's a few more specific ideas that may work instead. The first is to use an expander. The way an expander works is that anything that doesn't pass a set threshold is ultimately going to be turned down or reduced. Now, typically this is used to reduce the effects of unwanted background noise on a track, so like hiss or room air. You're going to use an expander or its more extreme version, a gate, to reduce those effects. However, we can also use them to recreate dynamics in a similar way. The challenge with this is there needs to be some volume variances in order for the expander to work, as the expander will reduce the volume of anything that doesn't pass the threshold that we set. If everything is at a consistent level, then this is probably not going to work at all. And that means you may instead want to pursue the second option here, which is automating the volume to recreate dynamics. As I already established, this requires some manual finesse, but essentially we're talking about adding some volume automation to mirror what the natural dynamics of a vocal could sound like. There's really no magic here. It's just about going in and drawing volume automation to increase and decrease the level of the vocal at different points to ultimately re-add our own dynamics to the signal and give it some more feel. But sometimes even that is not enough. And that means you'll need to consider the third option I'm about to propose, which is compressing and limiting the instrumental even more. If everything else fails, you can apply some more compression and limiting to your instrumental. Squeeze it a little bit more, increasing the amount of gain reduction that's taking place, and ultimately just trying to mirror the level of compression that's happening in your overly compressed vocal. We still want to make sure that we have dynamics. We need those variances in volume between our drum hits and our basses, for example. But if we just can't get our vocal to sit, this is probably a necessary evil to explore. But managing dynamics is just one more piece to the puzzle. And that means that the third reason why your vocal won't sit properly in a mix is a product of frequency content. Vocals can occupy a large part of the mid-range of the frequency spectrum. However, so can many other sounds like guitars, pianos, pads, drums, percussion, and more. This means managing mid-range frequencies and slotting sounds into specific frequency pockets is critical to achieving an optimal balance between them. Every vocalist is different and may have different frequency fundamentals that make up their voice. However, I find the most intelligible range is typically somewhere between 2K and 6K. This area contains a lot of detail and articulation and corresponds to the frequencies that the human ear is most sensitive to on average. I typically like to figure out what is the most intelligible range range for the vocal that I'm mixing, and then declutter that frequency pocket to make sure that the vocal is the most dominant element there. Like all things mixing, this can be achieved in a number of ways, but one of my preferred methods is to use a sidechain process like sidechain dynamic EQ or sidechain multiband compression. You can put this on to individual sounds that may be clashing with your vocal, or even entire instrumental groups if needed. Now, I prefer using a sidechain process because it tends to sound more transparent. It's not always going to remove a frequency like a static EQ move would, but instead it's only going to reduce that frequency when it's a problem. So in this case, I got a multi-analyzer here, and I've put one on each of my groups and my acapella. So I got my acapella master, my all instrument master where all tracks go, my bass master, and my drum master. Now, I'm specifically concerned about my all instrument master, which again is where all of my individual instrument sounds go, like the horns and so on, and how that interacts with my acapella master and all the vocal tracks that go there. So let's play this for a moment, and using this analyzer here, we can pay attention and see what kind of frequency overlap is there, and then decide to address it.
Had to flip quarters, make it last, what it do? Stuck in a trap, one room was a zoo. Whole fam go ham, yeah, we gotta make moves. Ticked off whites with the tag on my shoe. Oh, run it off, you moving, I slide fast. I choose to apply flash, I'm killing inside chest. Not checkers in mind pass, no landing inside flash. The lighting is bright, crashing, I'm flipping the right. Yeah, good book.
As you can tell, there's a lot of overlap between these two sounds. They're really occupying the same range. And what I ultimately want to do is make some more room for the vocal, particularly in that 2 to 6 range as I mentioned. So knowing that there's a lot of competition now, I'm going to go to my all instrument master here, and I'm going to put on a dynamic EQ, which I've already done. Now, what you want to do before I even show you this is you want to figure out where is your vocal most intelligible, or where is there a lot of that articulation, that definition of the voice and what's being said. In my case, for Sorry, it seemed to be here around 3580. If I actually copy this really quick and just solo it, you're going to be able to tell what this sounds like. So you can obviously hear that there's a lot of that articulation, that definition there. So now back to my all instrument master, which again is the one that's really conflicting in my opinion with the vocal. I've created a dynamic EQ band here, and what's going to happen is every time that the vocal itself happens, it's going to reduce this 3580 hertz frequency pocket and ultimately make room for the vocal during those moments. But then when the vocal isn't happening, it's not going to do anything. Let's check this out. I'll play it, I'll take it out, and you can hear the difference.
Backslide with it, moonwalk like MJ. Did it, hands up, I repent. Get it? Every testimony living gotta be told, oh no. Backslide with it, moonwalk like MJ. Did it, hands up, I repent. Get it? Every testimony living gotta be told, oh no. Backslide with it, moonwalk like MJ. Did it, hands up, I repent. Get it? Every testimony living gotta be told, oh no.
A pretty clear difference in my opinion. You can hear how the vocal, it just really pokes out, comes out on top, and is now no longer being buried, so to speak, or it's not really competing as much, at least, with the horns. And once again, when there are sections of this track where the horns are happening and the vocal is not, they're not going to be negatively impacted by this move. Now, I've done this manually, but there's also some tools that'll really automate this process and make it a lot easier. Stuff like Soothe 2 and Track Spacer, and I've done videos on these tools in the past, which I'll link to up above and in the description down below for you to check out if you're curious. But the truth is, these are just a few of the main reasons why your vocals aren't sitting in a mix, but of course there's other factors to consider. In fact, one factor I haven't talked about at all is stereo imaging and using the stereo field to your advantage. Luckily for you, I have a video that details this at length, which I'll leave right here for you to watch next. If you got value out of the video, please smash that like button blue and subscribe if you're new. I appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
5